Hi physicists, this short video is on using y equals mx plus b to solve problems. So I'm going to give you a scenario. You are in a bathtub. That is clearly a bathtub. That stick figure is clearly you. And you unstopper the bathtub and the water starts to drain out of the bathtub, right? That arrow is indicating the water is draining out of the bathtub. So let's say you started with 100 liters and all of it drains out in 10 seconds. That's a pretty simplified example. I made nice numbers, but it's not too far off in a bathtub. So what that means is that your slope is, it goes down 100 in 10 seconds. So 100 divided by 10 is 10. So our slope is negative 10 liters per second. And so what that means is that's a relationship with how many liters drain per second. So that means every second, 10 liters drain out of this bathtub. All right, so how we use y equals mx plus b for this is first we just find the equation of our line. So y equals mx plus b, and the equation of our line is y equals, I said the slope is negative 10 liters per second. So negative 10 liters per second times x plus our y-intercept is 100 liters. 100 liters. Okay, so now I want to talk to you a little bit more about what these mean. Well, what we graphed on the y-axis is water level. So y is giving us water level at any time. So I'm going to abbreviate it WL. Water level equals, now the slope tells us a relationship, negative 10 liters per second. That means we're losing 10 liters every second. Times, and I'm going to write it in parentheses. So times your time. I'm just going to do a T. It's your time that you let your bathtub drain for, plus 100 liters, because this x was graphed on the x-axis as time. So this is showing me this relationship. If I know the time, I could solve for the water level. And vice versa. If I know the water level, I could figure out at what time that would be. So let me do both of those as an example. So let's say I want to know my water level. So what is water level after 3 seconds of draining, right? So maybe I want to know where my water level would be after 3 seconds of draining. So all I have to do is I go water level, that's what I'm solving for, so that just stays as letters, equals my slope, negative 10 liters per second, times my time. Now I just insert my time instead of t. 3 seconds. Now notice that the seconds, my units cancel, plus 100 liters, that's what I started with. Okay, so I can continue solving this. Water level equals, I take 10 times 3, because that's a times there. It's that slope times your x. So 10, and this is, don't forget, this is negative 10. So I like to just do the multiplication first. So 10 times 3, and I know since there's only one negative there, I just make it negative in the end. So 10 times 3 is 30. So negative 10 times 3 is negative 30 liters. So what that means is that in 3 seconds, we lost 30 liters. Because for every second, you lose 10 liters. So if I let it go 3 seconds, I will have lost 10 liters. But then we have to add the fact that we started with 100 liters in the bathtub. So our water level will be what we started with minus what drained out. So now our last step is water level equals 100 liters minus 30 liters. That's 70 liters. Cool, right? And I know that it's kind of difficult to do this algebra, but if you take it step by step, it's always actually going to kind of look the same almost. You're always going to see this same format of y equals mx plus b. And if you just kind of follow it step by step, it always pretty much looks the same. Once you can recognize when it looks the same and like what to do when it looks the same, that'll really help you in this class. And remember, you always get to use your notes on tests. So not a bad idea to write this down maybe on a sticky note or a flap in your notes somewhere so that you can come back to it and use it on a test, right? All right, how about a different example? Now let's do one where we're asking for the time. So at what time, not lime, huh? At what time is the water level? Let's do, at what time is the water level 30 liters? So how long would we have to let it drain before we get down to only 30 liters? All right, so now if we look at our equation, we don't know the time. We're looking to figure out the time. It says at what time, but we do know the water level. So I can plug in 30 liters there. My slope is the same, -10 liters per second. My time I'm solving for, so I'm just going to leave it as a t plus 100 liters. Now, this just requires a couple different steps than the last one. The first thing is we're trying to solve for t, so we've got to get rid of all of these kind of like the things that are on the same side as the t. I want to move this 100 liters over to this side. So I'm gonna go minus 100 liters on both sides. So minus 100 liters. And I'm gonna rewrite this. I'm running out of space. So here's what I'm gonna do. Since this is a video, I hope you can kind of go back and replay. So 30 liters minus 100 liters is -70 liters, and 100 liters minus 100 liters is just 0, so that just gets rid of that side of the equation. Now, if you were going to do this on a test, I would prefer you guys do each step written below. I just ran out of space. All right, so now I've got -70 liters equals -10 liters per second times t. Now, if we're solving algebra, if you have a times, see that 10 is times the t. The opposite of multiplication is division. So if I divide both sides by this -10, don't forget your negative, -10 liters per second, dividing both sides by -10 liters per second, and I want to show you that liters cancels, and you'll end up with just seconds on this side, which is good because you were solving for a time. So I would hope your units in the end is seconds. All right, so first thing to note is that this -10, like why we did this is to get rid of them. So if I have the same thing on the top as the bottom, that cancels, that gets t by itself. Now over here, I've got negative divided by negative. Those negatives cancel. You've got a negative divided by a negative. Those negatives are going to cancel. Now I've just got 70 divided by 10. 70 divided by 10, and I'm sorry that I ran out of room, but I'm just going to move it over here. 70 divided by 10 is 7. And remember, all we got left is seconds equals t. So I got t by myself. So what this means is it would take 7 seconds to get down to a water level of 30 liters. So this is really powerful because sometimes we don't know all of the little pieces of our graph, or sometimes we might have a graph that's bigger than the data that we could actually collect. So we would have to use y equals mx plus b and come up with the relationship between x and y so that we can actually just mathematically solve it instead of graphically solve it. And that's a powerful thing that physics does, is that we can take pretty much any situation, graph our data, and then figure out the answers to new and more complex problems than we can even put on our graph. So that's one of the reasons I love physics. And I really, really hope you enjoy this too. And just again, remember that these algebra problems, they're once you see how they look the same, like once you see it, I know it's not always easy to see it, but once you can see how they all look the same, you'll start noticing, oh, you do these same steps. Maybe it's different numbers, but you always do these same steps to solve. So good luck, physicists. We'll have plenty of practice of doing this. And remember to take good notes because you always get to use your notes on a test.